Okay, so my project was on phishing, specifically trying to run a simulation of a phishing attack. So phishing, just a quick review, is a form of social engineering. Usually takes the form of an email or some other pop-up notification. Usually works off fear, trickery, or trickery. So basically, those pop-ups like saying like, "Oh, your computer is infected," click here to fix it. That's a form of phishing. Another form of phishing is also called vishing. That's basically where somebody uses like they make a call and impersonate another person. So an example would be like if I called the company and was like, "Hey, I'm with your I'm a computer repairman. I was told that this was that there was a problem here. Can you give me this information so I can resolve this problem?" That'd be an example of phishing. So it works basically by the attacker convincing the victim to give up certain credentials like passwords or bank account information. Um, Essentially, the phrase when it comes to social engineering and why it's used is because why waste all the time doing a technical hack and cracking their password when you can literally just ask and you're likely to get it, especially if you know how to ask. And the point of this is to basically, an attacker succeeds when they manage to create a connection to the victim's computer, or if they manage to get the information that they're looking for, so they could so that way, like say they're looking for your bank account information, if you give them, if they manage to trick you into giving them your, like say your username or your password or whatever uh, identifying information they would need, because then they can just log in as you, no problem, and all that, and be able to access whatever they're looking for. So my simulation consists of it consisted of a Kali Linux virtual machine, a Windows 8.1 virtual machine, an email server, and an email client program. So for the email server, I used HMail server. It's a free open source program. And then for the email client program, I used Thunderbird and Thunderbird email. It's another open source free program available to Linux users and otherwise. So the attack I was trying to do was called the Microsoft Word RTF fragments attack. As you can see in this screenshot right here, there is a variety of attacks built in to Kali Linux's social engineering toolkit or set. But this attack, I chose it because it would create a buffer overflow, which allows you the attacker to install a listener or rootkit on the victim's computer. So essentially what that means is either the attacker could install a program to listen, or just install a program that would just allow them access to everything. The difference being like a listener would be used to just capture certain information, whereas a rootkit would allow an attacker to go digging deeper on the victim's computer rather than waiting for the victim to just give up the information. So as you can see here, this is the part of the screen up here. You can see the social engineering toolkit. The reason why it says unable to check is because I was using this on an isolated network just to try and make sure that my host machine was protected. So the way I have it set up is these machines are isolated from the internet. They can't access it. But as you can see, there's also all kinds of different methods of attack you can use within the social engineering toolkit. So I chose the first one, spear phishing, just because I wanted to specifically target with email. And spear phishing is just a more specific version of phishing. It's a bit more narrow. Phishing is a just general catch-all term for it. like a mass email thing, whereas spear phishing is specifically targeted towards a very small group of people, if not just a single person. And so as you can see here, again, our attack right here. So I selected that, and then selected my method of attack. As you can see here, I'm creating the email. Basically, for the simulation, I decided that the attacker had already uh, gotten a hold of Bob's email account and was just trying to get a hold of some information from Jim's computer. And so I have that. So I have this all set up where I create a specialized email versus using just a generic template, just to kind of build up that trust for Jim. And then right here, you'll notice, so I set up the port that it's supposed to listen on. I set up the port it connects to, and then I set up the port, or the port that it would connect back to on that attacker machine. And then the port number here for the SMTP server is port 25. That's the port that it would send the email over. Flag as high priority. I said yes because we want to make sure that Jim sees this. Unfortunately, I was getting this error, and I've tried multiple times to resolve this, but it said unable to connect to the mail server. Trying again, and then it says has finished delivering the emails. So unfortunately, like I was saying, I was using HMail server to run this, and I have this all set up. So as you can see, we have Bob's account, Jim's account at just a fake domain just to set up the simulation. And for whatever reason, I'm able to do a server send out from Bob's account or even Jim's. I did try that as well. And as you can see here, they were both able to receive the server send out, but unfortunately, I could not figure out what was going wrong. I couldn't get the two email accounts to just to send to each other individually, even though I have the server. As far as I can tell, I've tried multiple different ports associated with SMTP. I tried port 25, tried port 587, even 465, I believe it was. None of it worked. I don't understand why, because right here it's supposed to be listening to it on all the 0.0.0.0 IP address is that way it'll listen on all possible IPs. And all that, but for whatever reason, it just would not work. I'm not sure what I was doing wrong. But yeah, essentially, if I had been able to send from Bob to Jim, I would have been able to just attach the document that was created with the payload that would create the buffer overflow. And then once Jim downloaded that attachment or accessed it, then the program could run, and we would be able to, as Bob, or masquerading as Bob, we would then have control of Jim's computer. And then of course my sources, this was a website that kind of had like a walkthrough of how to use set. I was using that as a reference, and that was my project, setting up phishing. It didn't quite succeed, but I still learned a good bit about it, and I hope you did too.